Okay, today we're going to make a Kawasaki Rose. You want to start with a paper that's kind of like origami paper is what I bought, just simple origami paper. Any paper will do as long as it's not too thick. And you want it to have hopefully one colored side and one white side. If you don't, just make sure you keep track of which side is which. Starting on the white side, you want to fold your paper in half. And then fold it off and press the creases down really, really well. You want to be able to see all of your creases. And turn it around and fold it in half again, so you have 4 squares when you're looking at your paper. Then you take one edge and you fold all the way up to the middle line of the paper, so you form kind of a column. And then you turn it around and do it again on the other side. So you have a couple straight columns going down. Then turn it around and do it again on the 2 other sides. Essentially what we're doing here is we're making 16 equal squares. And then you want to turn it back around to the colored side, and you'll see that you have equal squares. You see, if you're looking at your paper, you see the top row of squares. You want to take your edge of the paper closest to you and fold it on up to the line of that top row of squares and score it off. And do that with all 4 sides. So you're basically dividing the center squares into more squares. When you've done that and you're looking at your colored side, you should see a central square. If you look all the way in the center, there should be a 4 square and it should be pretty equal. You should also have a line directly down the center, and you should be able to pinch that line so that you can have this little mountain in the middle of your paper. And then what you do is you just bend it over itself. You can do it on either side, it doesn't matter. You can bend it closest to you or furthest away. And then fold that little bit in half. But don't crease except for in the center. So from one edge of your little square that's in the center to the other edge of your little square that's in the center. You can see that I've done that there. Alright? And then you want to unfold it. So it's made sort of a little rectangle. Then you want to turn it around and then make a mountain out of that center fold and do the same thing. Fold that little center fold in half and crease only in the center and unfold. If you look, you have now made an even smaller center square with 4 equal boxes. You can see it a lot better when you turn around to the white side, so do that. And once you turn it around to the white side, I would like you to enforce those creases in that center square. So of all the squares that are possibly on that page, the very center one, you should be able to see it pretty clearly as long as you've made your creases really sharp. And then what I want you to do is go around to each side of that center square and just go in the middle and pinch each of the folds in the center so that that center square is just really reinforced. Just keep going around and pinching until it's completely, you can see it really well. Okay, and now once that's done, you're going to fold the corners in. So you take one corner and you fold it towards the center so you can see the little colored piece, and it looks like a little triangle. And you're going to do that with all 4 corners. This is probably the simplest part of the whole thing. Now once you've done that, we're going to do a little bit more complicated folds. Alright, take one of the corners that you folded, and you sort of take each corner of the triangle on the flat side of the triangle and bend it in half so that you're touching each of the points. Then you want to crease that fold and bring it all the way up to your center box. You want your crease to stop at the first corner of that center box. So you've sort of made a little mountain out of the side of your paper, and your crease just stops at that corner. This is why it's really good to know where your center box is. And then you're going to do the same thing with the rest of it. You just take the corners of one of your triangle and meet them in the middle, and then crease all the way to the corner. Once you've done that, it should sort of look like a little flower of sorts. Then I want you to turn it over to the colored side again, and we're going to work there for now. You're going to take one of the flat edges where you folded your corner down. So you're going to take your edge where you fold your corner back, and you fold that edge all the way to the center so that the flat part of your little triangle meets the center line, and you only crease the right side. Only crease the right side, and make sure you crease it nice and well. Then you're going to do that, and you're going to turn it around and do it with another side. Just fold everything directly into the center and only crease the right side. And you're going to do that with all 4 sides. Okay. And now that you've completed that, we're going to flip it on over again. Alright, if you look at one of your triangles that you folded in, where you can see the little color, to the right and left of it are boxes. And working with the right box only, so when you're looking at a triangle, the box to the right, you're going to try and make a little X in that box. So you take the triangle all the way to the right and fold it on over so that you make both the edge of the paper and the triangle you're working with meet. Then you're going to crease it only within that first box, and you should be able to see if you've made your creases really well, and this is one of the reasons why it's important to do so. You should be able to see a little triangle in and of itself and only crease right there, because then when you unfold it, you'll see that you've only made one line in that box. Then you take the triangle you're working with and bring it over and fold it to the center line. And once again, you should see on the colored side a nice little triangle, and you just crease only within that tiny little bit. And when you unfold it, you should see that you've made an X in that box to the right of your triangle. And you want to do this for the rest of all of your triangles. So just bring it on over. So you turn it to the next triangle, go to the right, go further to the right and pick that triangle up and fold it on over so that the edge of the paper meets the edge of the triangle, and only crease within that box. Then you take your triangle and you bring it over to that center line and only crease within that box. Alright, we've just got one more thing to do, and the pre-creasing will be done. So the next thing we want to do is take a triangle, pick any one you want, and there's a point at the end of that triangle. Go all the way to the opposite side, to the other triangle directly across from it, and fold it over so the flat side of the triangle meets the pointy side of the triangle on the other side. Your triangles on the opposite sides of you will want to like bend in. You want to fold it over so it's a nice crease. And this time, once again, you still crease just the right side, only the right side. Then you turn it again and do the same thing. Flat side of the triangle meets pointy side of the triangle. Fold it over, get a nice fold, make sure your creases all line up, and then just crease the right side. So our pre-creasing is done. So that's exciting. Now we can actually start to make the ropes. So remember that fold where you folded all your triangles in half to the corner of the center box? I want you to go back and reinforce all of those folds. Go back and make sure that those folds are nice and defined. If you need to, you can always reinforce your center box as well, just so you can see everything and make sure everything's okay. And you should be able to see, pick one fold, any one of them, any triangle fold, and you should be able to see that there, if you fold it to the right, there should be a pre-crease that's already there. So just fold the little tip of your triangle over and do that to the right with every other fold. So make sure you're folding to the right, because there should be a fold already there. That makes it really easy. And if you look at the center of your piece, it should look kind of like the center square is up in a mountain, and all the little folds coming off of it are sort of twisting. We're going to take advantage of that. Make sure you poke in any sides that are sort of puffed out so that you can see the creases really well. And take 2 creases that are diagonal from one another and twist to the right. Then take the other diagonal set and again twist. And you should see your little box start to move. You want to keep it square, so make sure as you're twisting it stays square, and eventually it should twist and lie really flat, and it should look like this. So once you've done that, you have now performed the Kawasaki twist, as it's called. And you can flip it over and you should see that all the folds sort of meet in the center. And now we're going to do the difficult part. Okay, so the first thing is you look at your folds. If you look to the right of a fold, you should see a diagonal crease. You want to sort of grab that diagonal crease with your thumb. Then you're going to take your fold. There should be a triangle to the left of your fold. Grab that with your thumb and forefinger and just pull it apart. And it should pull apart pretty easily until you get to a certain point where you're going to have to run your finger underneath that crease that's giving you trouble and pop it out. So you should see a fold like this. Also, when you look at your fold that you just popped out, you should see that there's like a little house. You should be able to see the roof of a little house and a little square. So square triangle, as if you're a 3-year-old drew a house. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go to the triangle to the left of your little house, and there should be a fold in the middle of that triangle. You're going to sort of poke that fold in with your finger, and it should close really easily. And then you're going to grab the roof of your house and the side of your house and fold over to the left. And you should see it fold pretty easily because if you've done your pre-creasing really well, you should be able to have it fold over nice and easy. And your house should then lay flat. You're going to take this little free corner of your house here and you're going to drag it up to meet the roof of the house, to make a fold over this little triangle, and crease whatever is not already creased, because there's some that's not. And then you should see this little pattern. Okay. Then if you turn it around, you should be able to see another crease. And if you just pop it back, you should be able to fold right on that other crease. And it looks like this. Alright, now we're going to move on to the next fold. And we're going to do the same thing. You're going to take a thumb and forefinger and hold on one side, on one side of the crease, and the other side, thumb and forefinger with the other, and just sort of pull out until you can't really pull anymore. Until it's giving you some resistance. And then you're going to run your finger underneath and pop your little roof of your house out. And you should see your house again. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our little triangle and we're going to push it in on the left of the house. Sometimes your house roof on the left side may not have a crease, so you could just feel free to make that once you squish your triangle in. Alright, and then fold it back to the left, and your pre-creasing has been done right. It should fold nice and easy. Then you take the free flap of your house and fold it up again to form a little triangle and crease whatever's not been creased previously. Okay, now that you've folded your little flap over, you want to turn your model to the right and go to that long fold and fold it over the previous house that we just made. When you've folded it over, you should be able to see a rectangle shape that fits directly over the previous house. When you look at your rectangle shape, you should see a little bit that's hanging off that isn't touching any other part of that previous house. If you flip your model over, you should be able to see that a little bit better. You want to take that little flap that's hanging off and fold it back over the previous house while your model is upside down. It should make like a little triangle shape, and that shape grips the previous house and is able to stick the two together. Alright, and then we're going to go to our next fold, so move on over and do the same thing. Pop out your little crease there and see your house. And push in the little triangle. And then fold your house to the left. Crease up that little roof, or that little piece of the house. And then fold over the back so that it's folding over the previous petal you just made. And it'll look like this. And turn your model upside down and fold around the back so that it stays. And then you're going to go to your very last little bit here. And pop out your house again. Alright, and push in your triangle, fold over to the left. Now at this point, since you're almost done, like sort of assembling your flower, it's going to get kind of stubborn with where your creases are and how everything is going. Do the best you can to keep everything together, but if things slip apart, like your fold-overs come apart, that's okay. We can fix that later. So do your best to just keep everything intact, but if you can, don't worry about it. It's not a really big deal. You should only have one left. You no longer have to pop out any little houses or anything like that. You should just be able to fold over that square piece that's already there so that it meets the pointy triangle of your house, the house you just did, and then fold over your little triangle. And we should have completed the basics of making the box part and the rose part. So then you want to cup your rose with the hand that you're not going to use to fold, so whatever hand is not your dominant hand, and sort of just scrunch your rose together. And you'll notice that all the pieces you folded over are probably going to come apart, so you're just going to have to put them back in and scrunch tighter to make sure they don't come apart again. And this is the box part. So you're looking on the inside of your flower, and you're seeing the square you pushed down earlier. You also want to go in and make sure that all of your little folds on the inside are nice and pushed down. Like, you don't want anything puffing up. You want everything to lay flat. So when you look on the inside, make sure that nothing's poofy or out of place. Start with any spine that you want, but if you look on one of them, if you just sort of faces you should see like a little fold in there, and you kind of just want to bend your point down so that it sort of is level with the box. Then you have to work clockwise. So turn your rose clockwise to the next point and do the same thing. Bend that in over the box opening over top of the one you just did. And then working clockwise, do so again. And now with this last point, what we're going to do is we're going to tuck it in underneath the first point that we made. And it's kind of difficult to show in photographs, but essentially you want to lift the first point up and then sort of just tuck your last point underneath the best you can. And then we've closed our box. So turn your flower over, and it should be kind of closed looking right now. So you want to take your pieces of paper that are sort of coming out of the center, and you want to just stand them up. And just do this very carefully and methodically, and your rose should begin to open up. And you can shape these as much as you want, and you can crinkle them, like the petals, as much as you want to make it look how you want to look. Since you've been folding it so much, the petals are really receptive to like waves and making it look really nice. If you want to put little leaves on your rose, if you look on the side, you should see stuff that looks like diamonds. There should be a little piece that can be bent down, and all you should have to do is sort of bend that down and crease that. You know, you don't have to crease it really tough, but enough so it stands out. And these are the leaves of your rose, essentially. You do that with all the diamonds that you see around the side. And that is your rose. And you can shape that however you want it to look, and in any colors or patterns that you want. And once you get all the pre-creasing and you sort of memorize that, you'll be able to do as many as you want in a much faster time. I realize it's really complicated, and it's something that takes a lot of time and patience. So good luck, but you can always let me know if you have any questions. And enjoy your Kawasaki Rose.